Tonight in 9 News, chopper tragedy. 5 people feared dead after a helicopter plunged to the ground on Mount Disappointment. A desperate search from the air and on the ground to find the crash site in treacherous terrain. The family of a Melbourne mother murdered 42 years ago, devastated by the coronial findings. Breaking news, Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky addresses Australian Parliament. Warnie's 3 children lead the way during an unforgettable send-off for the Spin King. And Daryl and the Hey Hey Gang pay tribute to Ernie Carroll, the man behind Aussie Ostrich.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. 5 people are feared dead after their helicopter crashed into rugged terrain on Mount Disappointment, north of Melbourne. Alicia Oxley joins us live from the scene. Alicia, it's been a difficult day of searching for police.
It certainly has, Pete. Look, the alarm was first raised about this just after 9:30 this morning, and it took rescue crews several hours after that even to find this crash site. And once they did, it was a huge operation to winch those ground crews in using the police air wing. Aviation experts say, given this location here on Mount Disappointment, it would be a miracle for anyone to survive. Here's Lana Murphy.
Dangling above the trees on Mount Disappointment, specialist police drop into dense and dangerous terrain. And what they discovered below was a disaster. 5 people are feared dead, a pilot and his passengers. Their helicopter crushed after falling from the sky.
The nature of the impact itself would be absolutely horrendous.
9 News understands the group of cattle farmers was on a charter flight to Yarrawonga. The helicopter left Moorabbin Airport with 4 passengers on board just after 7 a.m. It stopped at the helipad on the Yarra River opposite Crown, then flew in a convoy with a second microflight aircraft heading north. But as it flew over Mount Disappointment near Lake Eildon, it vanished from sight. The second chopper, with another 5 people on board, raised the alarm, diverting and landing in Mangalore before flying back to Melbourne. For hours, the police air wing searched from the sky, hampered by low-lying cloud and dense bushland. The air ambulance was on standby before the wreck was spotted from above.
We have very, very grave fears for the well-being of the pilot and the 4 passengers on board. I think it would be a miracle if anybody was to come out.
It took an hour for police on the ground to reach the site, hauling in excavators and heavy-duty vehicles to clear a path, while aerial police dropped critical supplies. Access to the aircraft is still proving difficult. Even here on the ground, authorities have had to set up base more than 8 kilometres away from the wreckage, and officers from the Australian Transport Safety Bureau will join them soon. Authorities are holding out hope there will be survivors, but police are bracing for the worst. Lana Murphy, 9 News.
There's been a lot of activity here. This is just one staging area, and there have been plenty of police coming and going, of course, as well as SES volunteers, even chaplains and personal support workers who are expected to be here for those ground crews who are seeing that crash site firsthand. Reid Butler has been spending the day at another staging site that is just up a bit further behind me before the crash site. Let's go to him now.
Well, this is the main police staging area, a picnic ground called Blair's Hut at Mount Disappointment. It really is a huge operation. There are CFA crews here, SES officers, forestry management. We have seen excavators and there's 2 bulldozers here and a large Victoria Police mobile command unit. A huge operation because it really is a huge task. The terrain that they're dealing with here is just incredibly difficult to navigate. I'm told that there are some logs in that dense bushland the size of small trucks. So that gives you an idea of just how tough it is for these officers and rescue crews and why it has taken so long today. Now they are racing against the clock. The sun is about to set. It is getting colder. We know for certain that authorities do intend to stay here at Mount Disappointment for several days.
Now, this helicopter is part of the microflight fleet, which offers chartered flights right across Victoria. Adam Hegarty is at Moorabbin Airport for us tonight. Adam, has the company spoken yet?
It has indeed, Alicia. Only in the past 15 minutes or so, the Executive General Manager of Microflight, Rodney Higgins, walked out here at Moorabbin Airport and read a prepared statement. I think the main take-home message we can take from what he had to say this evening is he's described it as just a run-of-the-mill chartered flight. 8 passengers, a group of 8 divided between those 2 helicopters, 4 on one, 4 on the other. He says it was a simple A to B, but clearly something's gone wrong along the way. Let's have a listen.
I extend my deepest condolences to all affected by this incident, who we're supporting through this very difficult time. The safety and well-being of all of our passengers and people is our highest priority, and we have very stringent safety protocols in place.
Terribly sad when you hear him speak. They would obviously know that highly respected pilot who's still being searched for at that site very well. But that brings us to the second helicopter. That landed back here at Microflight's Moorabbin Airport hangars around about 2 o'clock this afternoon. 4 passengers on board and the pilot. They are, of course, all safe and sound and accounted for. No doubt they'll be soon speaking, though, to ATSB Transport Safety Bureau investigators. 2 real priorities and focus for those investigators at the moment. Obviously, piecing through the wreckage, try to find any answers they can find there, but also then speaking to anyone who has direct knowledge of the flight. That will include them. He is the Chief Commissioner of the ATSB.
The ATSB is deploying a team of transport safety investigators from our Canberra and Melbourne offices with expertise in helicopter operations, maintenance and aerospace engineering to the accident site.
And Alicia, unfortunately, as we know, with these investigations from the ATSB, an official cause, more than likely, will take months.
Absolutely. All right, Adam Hegarty there at Moorabbin Airport, thank you. Well, a lot of speculation, of course, about the weather at the time here at Mount Disappointment. It's thought that low-lying cloud may have been a factor. Mimi Becker has been here throughout the day and joins me now. Mimi, tragically, this isn't the first time an aircraft has come down here at Mount Disappointment.
It's not, Alicia. 8 RAF airmen have died in 4 separate plane crashes here at Mount Disappointment, and they happened back in the 1940s and 50s. It was just last year that a memorial was unveiled here to those 8 airmen, and as you say, the similar instances were back then. It was down to poor weather and low cloud, and they were similar scenes to what we saw here this morning. There was low cloud hanging around right till the mid-morning, but the Weather Bureau does say that these conditions were typical of Mount Disappointment up here on the mountain.
Look, people might not be familiar with this area, but a story they might know is, of course, a very triumphant search and rescue operation that happened here just a couple of years ago.
Yes, William Callahan, a 14-year-old boy who lives with autism, he went missing here in the bush back in 2020. He spent 2 nights here. Hundreds of people searched for him for up to 3 days. Of course, there was a positive outcome there, but it shows how difficult the terrain is. Emergency services are, of course, hoping for the best, but fearing for the worst with this situation.
Absolutely. All right, Mimi Becker, thank you very much for that. And Pete, we are expecting to hear from police. It's perhaps unusual that they haven't held a press conference as yet, but we will bring you any developments as they happen here from Mount Disappointment.
OK, thank you so much, Alicia. The sons of murdered Thornbury mother Maria James say they're devastated. A new inquest has failed to identify her killer 42 years on. The coroner slammed the initial police investigation where vital evidence was either lost or destroyed. Court reporter Eliza Rugg.
Mark and Adam James were hoping their mum's killer would finally be identified.